Suprabhatam. Few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I was coming out of hostel, Yaga, and a YIC student was coming inside with a bucket full of clothes. There was a place to wash the clothes outside Yaga before, now it's been demolished. That month I had given lectures to YIC on Karma Yoga. So this student saw me. He had washed his clothes. He was coming inside with a bucket full of his clothes. He saw me. He said, "Good morning." I said, "Good morning." And he showed the bucket full of clothes and he said, "Sir, Karma Yoga." I said, "That is not Karma Yoga, that is your karma. Washing your own clothes is not Karma Yoga." For that matter, Karma Yoga does not depend upon what the activity is. Don't try to decide Karma Yoga based on the nature of the activity itself. Karma Yoga does not depend upon the nature of the activity itself. Nor does Karma Yoga depend upon the amount of activity. There are many widespread wrong notions about Karma Yoga. People start thinking that if you do good activities, that is Karma Yoga. No, that is Satkarma. That is a good activity, that is a sadhvik activity, fine, but that is not necessarily Karma Yoga. It can become a stepping stone to Karma Yoga, I agree. But don't confuse Satkarma itself to be Karma Yoga. Don't confuse service itself to be Karma Yoga, no. Service can still not be Karma Yoga. Service can still be done with the wrong attitude and it may not become Karma Yoga. Similarly, we should not confuse Karma Yoga with the amount of activity. We think if you work day and night, you are Karma Yogis. No, that is Karma Roga. That is a disease of activity. You don't know how to sit quiet. You have lost brakes. You know only to accelerate, you don't know to put brakes at all, then that is a disease. It is Karma Roga. So we should not try to label Karma Yoga based on the quality of the activity, nature of the activity, or the amount of activity. These things can become a stepping stone, agreed. But eventually Karma Yoga doesn't depend on all these things. Karma Yoga depends on just one factor. That is what Krishna is trying to explain repeatedly. Karma Yoga just depends upon your inner perspective when you are performing the activity and how you will react when the outcomes come. When the outcomes of the activity, yesterday we were discussing various types of outcome. Siddhya Siddhyo Samabhutva, when there is success or failure, if you are tranquil, that is one aspect of Karma Yoga. And while doing the activity itself, if there is no Sangha, there is no intense a sense of doership, an intense sense of ownership of that doing, then it will become Karma Yoga. It has to do with the inner perspective only. If we try to define Karma Yoga based upon what you do outside, then it will start becoming, it will confuse you one day, because, see, in the Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of Karma Yoga is primarily available in the Gita, it is available elsewhere also, but Karma Yoga is the main message of the Gita. Around 2.5-3 chapters are dedicated to Karma Yoga. So after giving that message of Karma Yoga, what did Arjuna do? Charity, service, or sweeping the floor? In Prashanti, Sweeping the floor has been associated with Karma Yoga very strongly. Karma Yoga means Jhadu Yoga. It is fine, that can become Karma Yoga. I am not saying no. But I am saying don't make that only as Karma Yoga. Don't think that only doing simple things like cleaning and washing is Karma Yoga. No, anything can become Karma Yoga. After teaching, after giving the message of Karma Yoga to Arjuna, he did not do service, he did not do charity, he did not even sit and meditate. He waged war. He did what was needed. So doing what is needed is one primary aspect of Karma Yoga. Then, with what attitude you do it is the essential aspect of Karma Yoga. If you see the Sattvic Karma, the verse for Sattvic Karma, that itself indicates Karma Yoga to some extent, because when you start becoming Sattvic, it is the beginning of spirituality, and Sattva will take you towards deeper realms of spirituality. If you look at the description of Sattvic Karma, the very first aspect of Sattvic Karma is Niyatam. What is Niyatam? Niyatam means what is needed in that situation. What is needed for this situation. What is needed for the situation may be sometimes battle. That was what was happening there. In Arjuna's case, what was needed there was battle. So, Niyatam is the first aspect of Karma Yoga. You should do what is needed. You should not say, no, this is a Rajasic activity, I will not do. No. See, fighting a battle. You tell me, what is fighting? Fighting is a Tamasic, Rajasic or Sattvic. If you classify activities, guna-wise, what will fighting come under? It will come under Rajasic or even Tamasic, maybe, I don't know. But Rajasic for sure. So, if you say for Karma Yoga you have to do Sattvic activities, then Arjuna did not do Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga does not depend upon the nature of the activity, it depends upon how you do it. What the essence of Bhagavad Gita is, it doesn't matter what activity you perform, all activities can be performed in a Sattvic manner. How you do it is in your hands. What is needed is not in your hands. Battery is needed, it is not in your hands. You have to argue with somebody, debate with somebody, it is not in your hands. You have to correct somebody, it is not in your hands. That is needed now. But how you will do it is in your hands. That can be done in a Sattvic way. That was what Krishna was pointing to Arjuna. He was telling, battle is needed now, you perform the battle, but you need not do it tamasically or you need not do it rajasically. You can still do it sattvically. Fighting can be done sattvically. It will look absurd. But there is modern example also for that. If somebody says, you fight in tranquility, it looks like it's a philosophy, it looks like an impossibility. But all of you know what Chinese martial arts taught the whole world. What is the specialty of Chinese martial arts? Do you see these people, Kung Fu warriors or any other form of Chinese martial arts? Do you see those warriors fighting with worry? You see them fighting in calmness. The main essence of Kung Fu and other forms of martial arts is that you have to fight in calmness. If you have not seen Chinese martial arts, you would have at least seen Kung Fu Panda. What is the message of Kung Fu Panda? Inner peace and then fight. Yes? See, in Bollywood movies or any other Indian movies, when a fight happens, there will be a lot of sweat, lot of blood, lot of yelling, lot of screaming, lot of shouting, and you enjoy that. That is Rajasic fight. The fight is being done Rajasically. Yes, you like that, it is entertaining. But you like to see Jackie Chan's fight more than that. Is there any sweat there? Is there any blood there? Is there any screaming there? No. He is fighting as if some comedy is happening. But he is fighting very skillfully. Fighting also can be done in sattvic way. Fighting also can be done in calmness. That is what Chinese martial arts taught the entire world. It is possible. And another catch there is, if you fight in calmness, your fighting will be more efficient. That is what they showed the entire world. If you fight in agitation, if you fight in anger, your efficiency will come down. If you fight in calmness, you will be more agile, your fighting will be more efficient. So, what is done, the nature of the activity does not decide whether it is karma yoga or not. How you do it decides what is karma yoga. You have to remember this one thing. When you come to the field of adhyatma, you have to remember one thing. What does adhyatma mean? What does adhyatma mean? Don't give me implied meanings. What is the literal meaning of adhyatma? What is the literal meaning of the word adhyatma? Something related to myself. Yes, adhyatma. Atma means self. It is something related to me. Adhyatma is something related to me. It is a subjective science. It is not an objective science. Although we use the concept of gunas to classify everything, even activities can be classified based on gunas. You can say fighting is rajasic. You can say butchering is tamasic. You can say lecturing is sattvic. You can classify the activity based on guna, I agree. But when you come to adhyatma, it is a subjective science. How you do the activity is more important than what the activity is. If butchering is needed, you do it. If lecturing is needed, you do it. All the activities can be done in sattvic way. How you do is completely in your hands. So although we apply the concept of gunas to the external world also, mainly the concept of guna has to be applied to ourselves subjectively. What is my attitude is more important. So same thing in the case of karma yoga also. How you do the activity is more important. What is done is not in your hands. What is needed may not be in your hands. It is not always in your hands. So that is the message of karma yoga. Message of karma yoga is not about the nature of activity or the amount of activity. The message of karma yoga is you do what is needed and do it with the proper attitude in a sattvic way. This happened in the Kurukshetra war in a very huge way, in a very significant way, but the same keeps happening in our day-to-day life and we struggle with it. If you just look around, you will see people struggling, you will see yourself struggling with it. If there is, suppose there is a family of 4 people, husband, wife, and maybe 2 children, and there is somebody else staying with you. If somebody passes a comment on the wife, say, somebody living in the house passed a comment on the wife. Now that wife, that lady, instead of going to that person and resolving that conflict then and there in politeness, in calmness, will start boiling within. They will not go and confront that situation directly, they will start boiling within. They will not go and tell that person directly, but they go on boiling. The boiling will happen many days, it will become a huge pressure inside. You will go on telling everybody else except that person who you have to actually tell. This is what happens everywhere. You will not tell that person who actually needs to be told that, but you will go on telling everybody, he is doing like that, he is doing like that, he is doing like that. Why don't you simply go to that person, fold your hands and then speak politely, why are you doing like this? Nobody does this too. This can be done sattvika. I am not telling you confronting means you have to go and argue with them and fight with them. That will become rajasic, tamasic. You can confront. That is now a vicious situation. Somebody is creating problems for you. Most of such problems can be simply resolved if you go with folded hands and ask them upright. Most of these situations can be simply resolved. But they won't do it because they don't want to become the bad person. If I tell him openly that you are doing wrong, I will become bad. So nobody wants to become bad. Everybody wants to retain their image as a noble man. Nobody wants to complain, but they want to boil with him. This, in one way, if you look at it, this is what majority of people are suffering with friction. You want to tell, but you don't know how to tell. Because the moment you tell, it will become an argument, it will become a fight. No, you can't tell it in a sattvic way, you can't tell it politely. You can't tell it in a way that the other person will melt and will accept defeat, accept that they committed a mistake. It can be told in such a way. But nobody does this, nobody shows this possibility. That is what was conveyed in Bhagavad Gita in Mahabharata war in a very big way. People who fought there did not fight. I mean, that was what Krishna's teaching was. He was telling Arjuna, don't fight in hatred. Araga dveshata. Don't. Fighting may be needed now, yes. You may need to kill them, yes, but don't do it in hatred. That was the message of the Gita. You do what is needed, but you don't do it with agitation, don't do it with hatred and anger. This was happening in a very big magnitude in case of Mahabharata war, but the same friction happens in everybody's life in very small extent every day. We start boiling with it. We want to tell, but we won't tell. Why? Because we want to be good people. We don't want to complain about anybody. If I tell him, he will think something about me, he will think I am being arrogant, I am being aggressive. So we think about our self-image more. Instead of resolving the situation, we will go on boiling with him. It will eventually, the pressure cooker, if it goes on building the pressure, eventually someday it will whistle, isn't it? It has to whistle someday. Someday it will give rise to a big problem. The friction will only increase, it doesn't reduce as days pass. So instead of doing that, as and when conflicts arise, if you simply go and with a sattvic attitude, if you confront that situation, the situation will dissolve then and there. So Karma Yoga means that is the beginning of Karma Yoga. You do what is needed without raga and dvesha, without having any excitement about it or without having any hatred about it. You do what is needed. This is needed, this I will do with the proper attitude. So Karma Yoga means that Karma Yoga is completely to do with our attitude behind the activity, not what we do. What we do may be classified as tamasic or rajasic sometimes. See, otherwise, if that was not so, for example, the work of a housemaid, it is categorized as a tamasic activity. Paricharyapakam karma. Paricharyapakam karma is tamasic activity. The activity is tamasic. But do you dare call her tamasic? Do you mean to say all housemaids are tamasic? No. They may be still doing it in an extremely sattvic way. The activity may be categorized based on guna wise, fine, that is an external classification, but that does not mean that the person itself is tamasic. The watchman standing there at the gate, don't call him tamasic. The work may be tamasic. There it is used in a different context when you classify the activity guna-wise. But don't confuse the external activity with the internal attitude. So if we confuse that, then all housemaids are tamasic, all the people who are sweeping the Bangalore streets are tamasic, all the watchmen are tamasic, all the people who are selling meat are tamasic. It will become an absurd classification if we try to do that. So classifying based on guna, classifying the activity based on guna is one, classifying the inner attitude based on guna is completely different. So a person may be engaged in fighting a battle, but he may be still sattvic within. That was the message of the Gita. It is not to go on changing the external activity. If you go on changing the external activity, if you say the whole world has to do sattvic activity, the world will collapse. It won't sustain itself. If everybody has to do sattvic activity, if everybody has to become a lecturer, everybody has to become a manager, administrator, who will do the paricharyatmakam karma? Who will do the soldiering work? The world will not run. So there, external classification of guna-wise activity is a different thing. It has nothing to do with the classification of the inner attitude. So let us remember that. That is the primary message of Karma Yoga. Our inner attitude with the activity. Let us not confuse it with the external activity itself. Thank you. Oh.